Mr. Mayor, it's time.
Good. That's great.
Mr. Mayor,
I'd
it's
like to
time.
call this special
Mr.
meeting
Mayor,
for
it's
hearing to order. I'd like to call this special meeting. I'd like to call this special meeting.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Hewich,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales, present. Councilmember Mitch Lindemann,
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta, present. Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva,
Here.
City Manager Ana Urquijo, present. City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do you have anything for this meeting, Ms. Andrade?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any public participation requests for items not on the agenda.
Okay. Item number 5, presentation discussion on the public hearing. Mr. Pedrosa, do you have anything to present to us before we open it up to the public?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, good evening. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Want to take the opportunity for the public hearing to present on the water and sewer rate increases and provide that information for the public and for their input. And if it's okay, I will proceed with the presentation, very similar to what we've seen in the past, but want to provide that to the public.
Please.
As you know, we commissioned an independent study of our water and sewer rate increases through a firm that specializes in these services. Their study showed that our current rate increases are not adequate to keep up with the existing demand for services and keeping up with the existing costs to provide those services. Little history, our rates have not been increased since 2012, and those were enacted sometime in 2008, 2009. So 2012 was the last rate increase that occurred. As we have communicated, the regular operating, maintenance, and capital costs have increased yearly. Specifically, well, we'll go into those specifics in the later slides. We also asked the firm to compare our rates to other utilities, both similar in size and both private, public, and all throughout the state. Our rates were lower than the average county and the average state rates on both the water and sewer. So what are some of the needs that we need to address with the water and sewer rate increases? In the water side is 3 new wells that have been, through a study that the city conducted, an engineering firm determined that 3 new wells are needed within the city of Douglas. Approximate cost of each new well is $1.6 million. New SCADA system. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. It's basically a computer system that is utilized to monitor, manage, and control our well levels and chlorination levels And that's a system that's in place currently that allows us to do that. It's currently obsolete. It's no longer supported by our developers, so that needs to be replaced. That's about $1.3 million. We also have other smaller heavy equipment and small equipment replacement needed, as well as different line replacements throughout the city, to include valves and hydrants. Another big need that we have is generators. When power goes out, our wells stop producing water. They stop functioning. So it's important that we have some backup system that allows us to continue that well operation. So we're looking at about $320,000 in covering some of our wells, not all of our well operations. In the sewer side, the majority of the infrastructure needs goes back into line replacement. That we did an estimate of about five blocks of line replacement is about $500,000 going out to a contractor, and to do that, there's a lot more needs than 5 blocks. There's several lines that are coming due to replacement, and those need to be addressed. Not to exclude heavy and small sewer equipment that is ongoing. There's also increasing costs on the lab and compliance with ADQ on the wastewater side. Those are things that are going to continue to evolve and continue to be a cost to the city. So we put together this slide to show the proposed rate increases and what those look like. The recommendation was to do it over a 5-year period. The recommendations were also higher, but we went to a lower rate and decided to use some of our existing fund balance to mitigate those costs, as well as seeking grants and financing to be able to mitigate the cost as best we can. So the water base rate increases are at 2.5% for the next 5 years, and the consumption fee increases are 5% for the first 3 years, 8.5% for the last 2 years. What that equates to a average residential in-city limits utility bill is about 61-cent increase per year. And that is approximately 5,000 gallons of monthly water use. So this is a representation of a average utility user. At the end of the 5-year, what they would potentially see is a $4.02 increase. On the sewer side, it's a little bit more straightforward. The recommendation came for the increase to be between a 3 and 9% range increase. We went with a 4% increase, a little bit less than the average. What that looks like for the first year for a residential customer is $1 increase, and so forth, as you can see with the schedule there before you: $1.04, $1.08, $1.13, $1.17. Total increase after year 5 would total $5.42 for sewer, a typical residential customer. We wanted to depict that as how it looks in the utility bill. So this is taken off of that and basically utilizing the same line items that you see on your utility bill that we all get in the mail, and how those would increase. Basically, the base water fee $15.50 would go to $17.88. the water consumption from $4.50 would go to $6.15. $25 in sewer to $30.42. This is after year 5, of course. This is not after the first year. This is at the end of the full implementation of the rate increases. We also depicted a commercial account, and we also kind of grabbed an average, but businesses kind of tend to be all over the map as far as water consumption. Some may be very low on the water consumption, some may be very, very high. So we kind of picked one about 30,000 gallons a month for a business. This is what that would look like. $133.74 would be the bill today. After year 5, that would increase by $26.89, putting the bill at $160.63. The other variation on that is that many commercial businesses have different size meters depending on the water demand that they seek. So businesses can range from 3/4 inch meters up to 6 inch meters depending on the volume. Mayor, with that said, I put these charts up just to reference some numbers. I don't want to go over this. This is just a lot of numbers, but I'd be happy to answer any questions about this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Pedrosa. Any questions from the council?
Yes.
Mr. Shelton, please.
Okay, do we have generators now that if the electricity goes off, they start turning on?
No.
We don't have any, okay. Have we been, do you think we can get some grants? Have a grant writer to help us with a new well?
Mr. Shelton, yes, that is our first option to seek out that grant. But as you know, those are hit or miss. We will definitely try that
Okay.
to seek those grants.
Okay, then the third one, have we checked to see if maybe some of our citizens who have really low income, they can get help some way? I don't know if anybody's looked into that.
Yes,
But,
we also wanted to touch on that. We wanted to bring that as a separate item because what we wanted to do is look at different options. We were trying to see if we can also offer a discount on the garbage side, not just the water and sewer side, but we encompassing both or our 3 utility enterprises, water, sewer, and sanitation, potentially looking at that, as well as possibly reducing pickups for sanitation in exchange for a lower rate. We're exploring those areas only for low income that could qualify, because if that gets opened up to the general public, everybody would get that, and we'd have trash overflowing, and we definitely don't want to get there. But certainly looking at different areas where we can seek out those folks that could potentially not be utilizing a lot of that service on the sanitation side and benefiting from a lower rate. We want to bring those proposals, those fiscal impacts that could potentially be associated with those type of services that we could offer, and what are the parameters around who qualifies, all those different areas. So we definitely want to do that. This title is strictly Title 13, Water and Sewer. Sanitation is Title 8. It's a different municipal code title, so we would need to amend 2 different titles if we were going to consider something like that. So we were considering that and seeking your direction on that tonight as well to further look into those areas.
Yep. I know last time I said that you can pay me now, you can pay me later. After I thought about my quote, I thought, you can pay me now, or you can pay me a lot. later. So, you know, we have to do what we have to do to maintain things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else? I'd like to open it up to the public. We have one formal request. And because we have such large numbers, anybody can speak. Thank you, Ms. Pedrego. Would you please address us?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Ayan Pedrego, and I reside at 1815 East Fifth Street in Douglas, Arizona. I'm also the owner of Illusions Boutique and Apartments in Douglas. Today, it is my belief, Mayor and council members, that we are not representing the constituents of Douglas. Of the 431 cities in the state of Arizona, Douglas is near the top. It is the 14th highest in city sales tax. It means Douglas is 14th, right? So there are only 13 cities out of 431 that pay more taxes than we do, city taxes. We are on the top of the list on sales tax, and yet we are near the bottom on the list of average income level per household. The average income level in Douglas is $35,500. For a couple, 2.8. We know we can't cut you percentages, so that's a family of three. $35,500. And this is what we're talking about, Douglas. We're not talking about Sarah Vista, Bisbee. This is Douglas. According to Google, Douglas has drastically higher than average percentage of residents in the poverty level compared to the rest of Arizona. So we're way on the bottom on the poverty level, but we're way high paying taxes. When taxes were introduced to the community several years ago, some of you were in the board, we were told, because Douglas was in the red, we needed to hike it to 9.9. But it was also presented that once we were no longer in the red, we would go back down. We haven't seen that. We're still paying the highest. Okay. Between 2010 to 2019, Douglas has lost an average of, 7.5% of the population, according to the Census Bureau, not my numbers. Residents who reside in Bisbee, Sarah Vista, Agua Prieta, Elfrida, choose to live there, but work here. And one of the reasons is because of our tax. They feel it's too high. So, according to the newspaper, business owners will be impacted differently by the hike increase, and you shared about that. But what's not is presented, that business owners also have to pay for the backflow, which is an added expense. Once a year it has to be checked. That's another expense. We say that we support small businesses, but small businesses are being impacted, and not in a positive, but in a negative way. We believe, and I personally am out there encouraging people to open businesses in Douglas. And I'm talking local people. I'm not going out. Local people. How many of you have visited these local businesses to see what their needs are? What do they, you haven't. I believe the only one that's been out there is Mr. Rijal. But I meet with a lot of these people and I ask questions. Then business owners, now, today I hear about this, but have they been notified of the pay hike that's going to, the hike that's going to occur with the RADA rates? Because it is going to affect them. A lot of them are in very strict budgets. And not many of these businesses are making enough money to cover the expenses. And again, the effects on the small businesses. Why is there? The other thing that I see is, Mr. Pedrosa, you did an excellent indicating all these things. But why has there been no hindsight, no foresight into seeing that these expenses were coming? We're talking generators, we're talking equipment. Look at all the list that he gave us that has to be fixed. Everything came up at one time. Look at the money we're talking about. The wells, why hasn't this been coming in gradually? We wouldn't have felt it like we are now. But now it's coming all at once. And that's where I believe it is the city council's responsibility to be looking, anticipating, so that we don't have great hikes. And even though I saw your numbers, sir, and you said it was going to be like $6, but when you think of a family, and generally in Douglas it's a family of 4, 2 kids and 2 adults. When you think them living on 35, you may say, well, that's very low. Just ask yourselves, how many of you would live on $35,500 a year and support a family of 4? And today, I feel that one of the solutions, and the only solutions that we look at when we're coming against these type of struggles here in the community is, let's pay more taxes, let's charge the constituents a little more. I really believe that we need to think outside the box. And you know, Mr. Pedrosa, you said, and you mentioned it today, because in my notes I had, why haven't we had a grant writer? If we anticipated these things, why weren't we asking this grant writer to look into grants? Grants are available. You just have to know where to search. Grants are available. But there's other things than just taxing a community that's already been taxed a lot. And I'm asking why, you know, we're paying 9.9 taxes. I do understand that the taxes, you have to budget them in different ways within the city, I mean, the school district. I understand. But we can find ways to move monies around. But look at all the things that Mr. Pedrosa mentioned today. It was not 1, 2, 3. There was so many, I couldn't keep writing. Because we need a generator. When we got the new water system, which has only been a few years, the new system that was put in place, and I could have misunderstood, you said that it wasn't up to date now. And I'm like, how can it not be up to date? We just installed it a few years ago, you know?
Mr. Mayor, it's time.
No, it's okay, go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
and I'm just saying,
Thank you.
you know, if we really do care about Douglas, and we want Douglas to prosper, and we want citizens of Douglas to open up businesses, then we need to think. We need to believe in them. And today, I'm going to leave you with this. I know that today we're taking a vote, but I'm asking you to table it until we do look into grants. I'm not saying we don't need it. We need everything. We need roads. Douglas needs a lot. I support that. But I also support thinking about the constituents that reside in Douglas. And that should be in our forefront. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pedro. Anyone else have, we only have about 3 minutes. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to comment on?
And Mayor, may I just add something else?
Oh, please.
I've asked several people to come and speak, but I'm going to share something. A lot of them don't want to, not because they don't want to, but because they hold positions within the community that they're scared and they're worried, you know, they could have some type of retribution.
Oh, no.
I know, and I tell them that. But when I speak to them and I say, hey, the only way we can make a change is if we voice our opinions. But that's what I've been told. Some are scared, so but that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
We'll give it 1 more minute.
Mr. Mayor,
Public hearing.
if I can just fill in some information there. The SCADA system is different than the AMI system. I think that's the system that Ms. Pedro was referring to. So I just want to put that point of clarification. AMI is the automated meters that provide those readings constantly to us without having, you know, manually sending our laborers out there to read. SCADA is a different software system that manages our entire water system.
I was, Mr. Mayor, I was shocked today on Channel 13. There was about 2 or 3 minutes of this on Channel 13. They were announcing people to come to the meeting. So, I mean, it's been
Okay, we're out of time in this public hearing. Item number 6, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Morales, second by Mr. Shelton to adjourn our public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? We stand adjourned at 5:55. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we have the invocation this evening, I'd like to spend a moment of silence. We unfortunately had the untimely death of our Public Works Director, Dave Switatsky, earlier this week, and it's with sadness, and I'd like to take this opportunity to have a moment of silence on Dave's behalf. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Pastor Pete Cordova of First Assembly of God Church that will offer our invocation this evening. Pastor Pete.
I'd like to say thank you first of all to Mayor Hughes and the council members for this invitation. I consider it an honor every time I'm invited to give the invocation. Let us bow our head and pray. God, we thank you tonight for the simple and often overlooked blessings that we enjoy. The blessings of life and health. Blessings that not everyone enjoys. Lord, there are people in hospitals fighting for their life against cancer or COVID or some other life-threatening disease. Lord, they're not asking and they're not praying for a bigger house, a newer car, for a better job. They're just praying, Lord, don't let me die. Heal me. And yet here we are with life and health. And sometimes we feel sorry for ourselves for the things we don't have. God, help us tonight to pause and to thank you for the things we do have. Thank you, God, for all the blessings we enjoy. Thank you for this little city, Lord, in the southeastern part of Arizona that we call home, Douglas, Arizona. Thank you for our community. Thank you for our mayor and for our council members. God, I pray tonight that you would give them wisdom, that you would guide them as they deal with issues and make decisions that will make our community a better place to live. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Pastor Pete, before you sit down, how's the ministry going?
Thank you, Mayor. We are very glad to be open for the community. God has been good to us. This has been a challenging time for us as well as many, and we lost another member of our church to COVID. But there is hope and there is rejoicing. We're going to have our first Christmas program after a year of COVID, and we're excited about that. And we just thank God for the blessing of life and of health that we have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Pastor. God bless you. Item number 4, roll call, please.
Mayor Don Hewish.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales.
Present.
Councilmember Mitch Lindemann.
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta.
Present.
Councilmember Ray Shelton.
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro.
Present.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva.
Here.
City Manager Ana Urquijo.
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons.
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Item number 5, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any requests this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one.
Please. Thank you very much. Mr. A. Villarreal, would you please come up and address us, young man?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm A. Villarreal, campus dean at Cochise College. And I'm here simply to present a wonderful document for your reading pleasure. It's our 2020-2021 year in review, and it has highlights about things that have gone on at the last year at the college, employee accomplishments and student accomplishments, and different initiatives and programs that you might not be aware of, but that we're very proud of. So I will leave these here with the clerk, and as always, I thank the council for your partnership with the college as we work towards making our students educated here in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Villarreal. It's a pleasure having you home. I know you've been here for a while now, but it's great to have you here, and great to see your enthusiasm about our hometown. Thank you. Item number 6, presentation of awards. We had a very successful Christmas light parade, and we'd like to recognize our first, second, and third place winners. In third place, Loretto Catholic School. Mrs. Morales, would you help me? Please come forward. Then if you'd stay up here so we can get a group picture after we're done. In second place, Capas Construction. And in first place, LP's Dance Studio. My question is, where's the Grinch?
Oh, he's not here. Thank you.
You get in the middle, we'll get a picture of y'all. Mrs. Morales.
Come this way.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She was one of my favorite students. About 45 years ago.
Not anymore.
Oh, I know, about
You're
40.
dating me.
I know, I'm sorry.
Item number 7, discussion decision on approval of consent agenda items. Item A, expenditures for the month of November 2021, totaling $699,628.83. And B, meeting minutes for October 7 and November 10, 2021. May I have a motion, please?
Mayor,
Yes.
I move that the mayor and council approve the consent agenda items A and B as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Morales, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 8, discussion decision on approvals. Item A, third reading of ordinance number 21-1141, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending Title 13 of the Douglas Municipal Code relating to public water and sewer services by amending ordinances 755, 06-904, 09-973, 20-1117 pertaining to water and sewer fees and charges for services under Chapter 13.08, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Pedrosa, do you have anything you would like to add to this?
Mr. Mayor, I think we covered most of the topics. One thing that escaped me is including in here was we're proposing to keep the not charging for the credit card fees and utilized at the utility window. We saw great success in that during COVID, in allowing more phone payments, more online payments, credit card payments, less cash being exchanged. So we think that creates efficiencies within the division, and as part of this ordinance, we would like to keep those exempting those charges to the public.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Morales?
I move that mayor and council approve the third reading of ordinance number 21-1141 by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morales, second by Mr. Valdanero to approve the third reading of ordinance number 21-1141. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor, I have a comment.
Please, Mr. Lindeman.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Pedrosa, for bringing that up. That is a savings on the transaction fee for credit cards, however small it may be, but there is a savings there, and I really do appreciate that. Looking forward, all of these things that Mr. Pedro was mentioning are very valid, and we're doing our best to try and mitigate all of those points that she brought up, and they're good points. We need to grant writer, you know, and maybe we can look at the garbage and then get some savings there, because there are savings that we're going to automate, and so I always feel that those should be returned to the ratepayers in the form of some savings. So hopefully we can get that going on the next. Unfortunately, I do feel that we do have to have the increase in the water. I was on the finance chairman back in 2008 when they had to raise, and we did the 5-year at that time. And of course, it was a necessary evil. And I think this is the same thing, a necessary evil, to keep us to have our same service that we're all accustomed to. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else? I'd like to direct staff to look at those potential savings and bring them back to the council during the budget sessions to see how that would impact our budget for the next fiscal year, to see if we can't squeeze out some savings somehow for the lower income people of Douglas.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Grijalva?
I just wanted to mention and say thank you to staff, and also for the comment you just made. My ward is struggling with this. Ward 6 is technically low income on disability or on SSI, so my constituents have been very vocal to me when I've seen them about this. So, but I want to tell the whole city, publicly, that every time I come to City Hall, staff is looking at this from not only a fiscal impact, but also a compassionate impact. A lot of people think just because they work at City Hall, they're just trying to do right by the numbers, but our staff is really working to help out our constituents, and I want to thank them for that.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Grijalva. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to my old comment. You can pay me now, or you can pay me much later. So, and I hate to do it, but once again, if we could see about the low income situation, that would help, and I think you could.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mrs. Acosta, please.
I'd just like to point out a point that Ms. Pedrego made about the different needs that this department, has accumulated over the years. It doesn't seem like it should have, all kind of happened at once. Some of these things, I think, could have been addressed maybe sooner, or been working towards preventing some of this deterioration, so that not everything compounded at once. So she had a very good point with that, and I've made that point before, not on this particular topic, but just in different city facilities, that you start to see the deterioration of them, and we need to take care of these issues as soon as we know about them and not let them linger until it becomes almost an emergency. I still think that we could have some time to think about this, and I'm not sure what the rush is. I know the urgency on some of the items that are needed, but I just think that we could be a little more creative in how we get the resources to fix them. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes?
Councilmember Acosta,
No.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
In honor of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending Title 13 of the Douglas Municipal Code relating to public water and sewer services by amending ordinances 755, 06-904, 09-973, 20-1117, pertaining to water and sewer fees and charges for services under Chapter 13.08, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item 8B, resolution number 21-1482, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Douglas and Cochise County to collaborate on possible grants and other funding sources for the design and construction of water and sewer services for the new commercial port of entry. Mr. Quijo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. As you can see, this item is titled Strengthen Trade and Commerce as part of the consideration for this intergovernmental agreement with Cochise County. And, you know, this is an exciting time for the City of Douglas and for the community, for Cochise County as well, with the recent signing of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and kind of setting us to take steps into the future with the port of entry, or the two-port solution for the community. This is one of many items to come that will hopefully strengthen partnerships between the city and other agencies to move in the direction very proactively and very aggressively to prepare for the coming of the port of entry expansion and remodeling of the existing port. Cochise County and the City of Douglas have worked in tandem on increasing their partnerships and have the same goals towards the commercial port of entry in Douglas. And this formalizes the efforts on the initial phases. They already invested in a preliminary study for some of the infrastructure to begin out at the site for the future port of entry, and this formalizes that in an effort to work in partnership on the development of more of the funding sources, seeking grants to begin the infrastructure in phase one of what had already been established with the master plan study that was done in December of 2020. So with this partnership, I think it'll strengthen as well future attempts for continued funding. Like I say, this is just the beginning, and we will see many more to come to continue efforts in this direction. So staff is available for responses to inquiries or more deeper dives on the specifics of the IGA. The IGA is pretty straightforward and identifies roles for both the county and the city to move forward in continued partnerships for funding phase one.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
Mayor?
Yes.
I move that the mayor and council approve resolution number 21-1418.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lindeman, second by Mr. Shelton to approve resolution number 21-1482. Any questions or comments for discussion? Yes, please. Mr. Lindeman.
If I may. We've all been waiting for the new port of entry for, I don't know, 30 years. And as long as I've been here in Douglas, 32 years. And now it's finally coming to fruition. So I am really pleased that this is going to afford us a huge shot in the arm for all the downtown businesses, I'm sure, and as well as all of the providing jobs and new opportunities for our youth, and then we can all have our family community grow like we always envisioned it to. So I'm very pleased with this, and I hope that we can just charge right in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else? I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the county's administration and also especially Mrs. Ann English, our Board of Supervisors representative for this area. They have also recognized the great economic impact it will have not only in Douglas but in the entire county. And that's why they wanted to work with us together to make sure that this happens. And so we're doing those things. We also have the assistance of Arizona Department of Transportation to get some things done there. There's some areas that the county have expertise in as far as acquiring right-of-ways and things like that we're a little less, we're not as good at. Let's put it that way. And so we'll be working together hand in hand to make sure that those things happen properly and be able to pool our resources. And of course, we'll also expand this out to, we're also always seeking other ways to be able to do this. We have some leads already on possible funding sources, so we're excited about this happening. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, city manager reports. Mr. Kiko, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, very brief, Mayor, members of the council, just to make you aware that in the same spirit of being proactive towards future infrastructure, we are looking at strengthening broadband and internet connectivity in our community. That comes along with our water, wastewater infrastructure. It's very important to do that. So we do have an opportunity right now to partner and support a grant effort that Cox Communication is leading for the community of Douglas and this region. We have a long history of partnership with Cox Communication, and they are kind of spearheading an application with the Arizona Rural Broadband Grant application proposed for the City of Douglas community. And the City of Douglas has offered us a letter of support for that program. We are working with them on anything else they need to strengthen their application, and I will keep you posted on the progress of that. The application is due in January, I believe mid-January, and we will keep you posted. It's a total of $9 million that we expect, if approved, will bring fiber to home and fiber to business infrastructure, and that's very, very exciting for the community as well. We anticipate that upon approval, if approved, that's about a 24 to 36-month project to get that going. So wanted to just brief you on that. And we will have a future concept coming, just to make you aware, for consideration of setting up a mechanism for an endowment fund capacity to allow community members to make tax-free benefit donations into a platform. We're doing all of the research. I just want to kind of set that out as a consideration that we'll be following up in the next council meeting to set up through a foundation an endowment fund for the organization. And I think that will prove to have many proactive benefits to the community as well for future programming. Aside from that, I just want to make an announcement that I recently guided a process internally for our vacant deputy city manager position, and have named Mr. Pedrosa as our new deputy city manager, and will continue through your appointment also as city treasurer. So I thought that was important to make, just to show that we will continue to be a key partner of the city manager's office and establish some continuity on many of our major projects. And I will keep you posted on continued restructuring that the city manager's office is working on as far as our organizational structure and chart, and come back to you with some of those formal notifications in the coming months. That is my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kiko. Item number 10, informational items and reports from council and future agenda item requests. Mr. Grijalva.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanting to remind everyone, Commodities Day will be on the 20th, Monday. Need volunteers, especially during the holiday season, if there's anyone who could volunteer at the food bank. I wanted to congratulate Chief Fullen. We mentioned it earlier when we saw him to his appointment to the Homeland Security Regional Advisory Council, which is might bring federal money here. We have a greater chance of bringing federal grants here because of his appointment. So I want to thank Chief for taking that extra responsibility for our community and helping us out. Also want to thank Parks and Rec for the Great Light Parade. All positives. Everybody had fun, and the tree lighting too. I want to thank that department. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Anyone else from the council?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr.
if
Lindemann.
I may, I want to also echo Mr. Grijalva in congratulating Chief Fullen and Jennifer Smith and the whole staff, and of course, Mr. Bergoza for staying with us. So appreciate it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lindemann. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Morales,
I
please.
just want to say, as this year comes to a close, I think this will be our last council meeting, so I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. I know this has been a very difficult year for everybody, the community members, for staff, but I'm so thankful for the staff that we have here. They all do a tremendous, amazing job, and I'm very proud that they're a part of the city, and I want to congratulate Mr. Pedrosa. And I'm hoping that 2022 will be a much better year, and hopefully COVID will go away somewhat. And I don't know, the variants keep coming up, but I'm praying that it will be a much better year for everybody. So thank you, and again, happy holidays to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morales.
I would like,
Mr. Shelton, please.
I'd like to add what Margaret said. We do have a very professional staff here, all the way from the top to the bottom, and congratulations to our chief. That's neat, and we you know, right now that I know of, we have 3 people that are fairly well known in the community that are they're incubated. I think I may said the right word. And they're in the hospital, so our prayers need to go out for our community and for these people and their families. And once again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else?
Oh, the parade was exceptional. I'm talking exceptional. So.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. I'd like to add something that's very difficult for me to talk about because I'm a very personal person, but many of you have noticed that I've lost some weight lately, and I'm wondering if it was on purpose or not. Well, it hasn't been on purpose. I'm having some health issues that talk about hard to get into doctors nowadays, but I finally got in, and we have a plan of attack. So I just wanted to, as your mayor, I felt it necessary to make you aware that everything's going to be fine. Life is good. Don't lose weight the way I'm doing it. But have a lot of faith that we'll be fine and we'll get through all this. And I just want to let you know, if you see me a little bit slower, if you see me holding on to my pants so they don't drop down, or if you see me holding on an extra box of rocks so I don't fly away, then you know why. And I also want to take the opportunity to say that Merry Christmas. And it's an important time of year that I think we need to spend some time and remember what's important to us and make some resolutions of what we can do, what we can see that we can improve, not only with our own lives, but with our community. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to do it is that if we're all together. We're going to disagree, and we're always going to be supportive of each other. We're always going to be a family. So God bless everyone, and Merry Christmas. Item number 11, adjournment. May I have a motion?
No, may I add something? I just ask the community to please keep the mayor in your prayers, and I know he will get through this, so.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm going to add something else. It's been a pleasure this past year to be on the city council with everybody, and we've worked together, and we've not had any problems, and we've looked at the betterment of our city. So, Merry Christmas again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. We have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I
Morales.
move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Mrs. Acosta to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We stand adjourned at 6:32.
That was your present for us.